Come on in, relax. Don't drink the wine. So, we had 6 months of action fare, and now we're going to move back onto comedies with the next batch of commissioned reviews, starting with Arsenic and Old Lace. I'd never seen this one before. I kind of knew a little bit about it, but I didn't really know too much about this one. And it was interesting. You can really tell its origins as a stage play. Because repeatedly throughout watching, I found myself thinking, this would probably be going down better if I was seeing it on stage. And I think that's largely an issue of pacing. Now, that might sound like an odd thing, given that a lot of this is actually pretty dang rapid fire, but that's just dialogue delivery. There's a difference between dialogue delivery and overall pacing. This has a fair amount of very rapid fire dialogue, but there are certain scenes that drag, largely for a reason that I'll get into more specifics a little bit later. But it really would have benefited from using the ability of the camera to cut and compress time, because when these sorts of things play out on stage, they have to play out that length because it's literally happening in real time. The actor can't suddenly jump cut on stage from there to there, but you can with film. And I think this could stand from about 5 to 10 minutes worth of runtime reduction, not from significant cuts, but just from tightening. Because it's just at a pace that works better on stage, where you know for a fact you have to watch it play out in real time, and a movie where you don't. It doesn't have to play like this. So anyways, maybe I should talk about what the plot is for folks who don't know. So this stars Cary Grant in a role that he is very good for. I actually have not seen that many Cary Grant movies. The quintessential Cary Grant movie that I have seen is North by Northwest, which I adore him in. But I'll tell you what he's really good at. He does exasperation incredibly well. He is very good at playing an exasperated guy, and he gets to do it a fair amount here. So he is playing a character by the name of Mortimer Brewster, who is... he's something that I don't think anyone would believe is a real thing, but he is, for the time that it is set, a famous drama critic and also an author. He basically wrote a book about how marriage is a terrible idea and a fraud. Well, he may have written that, and that might be his reputation, but he's since fallen in love and has now gotten married. And all he's trying to do is get what he needs together to go off on his honeymoon with his new bride. So he goes and sees his aunts. And things spiral from there, starting from the fact that his aunts have a body in the little chest under the window, because the window seat opens up and has a chest, and there's a body in there. And he has come to find out that is one of their very short-term tenants. Basically, that these old ladies take in lonely elderly bachelors and poison them in what they view as an act of mercy. Add to the complications, one of Mortimer's brothers also being there, Teddy, who believes that he is Teddy Roosevelt. And so you have kind of a stereotypically, crazy guy, but then you have the very pleasant and like, oh, don't worry about it, dear, don't mind the body, sort of calmly unhinged nature of his aunts. And then you have Mortimer, who has very over-the-top reactions, but is the rational human being going, what? through all this, and just trying to get through this bizarre situation he finds himself in. And that dynamic, for the most part, all works pretty well. The two women who play the aunts are phenomenal. One of them was pretty much only a stage actress, aside from this and a couple of other things. The other one of whom I have seen in stuff like Harvey. So her I recognize. She's quite good. The guy who plays Teddy is obviously having a lot of fun, especially whenever he goes up to his room, because every time he can't go up a set of stairs without going, charge! And again, it's a very stage play kind of recurrent gag. It's the kind of thing that plays very well on stage, because when a character starts going upstairs, you might, as an audience member, glance away from them at the other characters because, well, that person's going upstairs. Cool. What's happening over here? Because that's the nature of watching a stage play. You don't have to necessarily look at only the one thing. There's other stuff going on. Depending on how it's been staged. But then him yelling charge works as a recurrent gag because maybe you forgot, or maybe there is something legitimately going on somewhere else and you didn't notice him start to go up the stairs, but then charge and whips you back and you're like, oh God, right, that. But the impact of that is lost when the camera is in a dedicated shot on him. You know he's about to do the charge thing, because the camera's on him. It's the only thing to look at. It can't catch you off guard, really. They try and do some little bits with that. Like there's one bit where he almost forgets to do it and then remembers and doesn't. Like that's kind of cute. But it's sort of like a little bit in a nutshell why this would work better on stage than it does in film. Not to say that it doesn't work in film. It does. I think the problem is because I've done too much stuff on stage and I've seen too many plays, including having been in a play rather like this. In high school, I was in Can't Take It With You, which this reminded me of a fair bit. Apparently, the film version of that was also directed by the same director, which is not surprising. Different writers for those, though. But it has a similar, single set, wacky family, a couple of more or less ordinary people thrown into the mix who aren't entirely sure what to make of everything going on sort of thing. So, like, I have been in and seen these sorts of stories as plays, and they work better as plays. And I think if I'm not someone who had seen as much theater as I have, I think I might like this better. I think that might be my hang up on this a little bit. But ultimately, it is a pacing issue, because the big thing is that one of the later complications, because the initial setup that I've kind of told you is a good, strong initial setup, but you need something that's going to keep the complications from being able to get simplified. Because that initial setup, like if Mortimer can deal with the body and or get his brother Teddy committed, which is treated as a good thing in this, which is a little bit weird. I don't know how I feel about that. Perceptions of the time. I guess I just need to let that go. But those are just a couple of things he needs to deal with. There needs to be another complication, one that doesn't resolve so easily, or isn't or like has somebody involved who like is going to be an active sort of roadblock, if not an outright antagonist. That comes in the form of Jonathan, Mortimer's other brother, his older brother, who is an escaped mental patient / serial killer who has recently had plastic surgery and now looks like Boris Karloff. Apparently Karloff actually like played the part on stage, which is kind of funny, but he didn't for this. They did get a guy who looks decently like him, though. But Jonathan, while his character serves a purpose, and he does come with a sidekick character, that of the very exhaustedly high-strung character of Dr. Einstein. No, not that Einstein. This guy's just a surgeon. He's the one who did the plastic surgery. Played by Peter Lorre, and I love Peter Lorre. So, like, that helped a little, but Jonathan's presence grinds the pacing of this to an absolute crawl. And as I said, a lot of the dialogue is rapid fire, but that's not what determines the pacing. The pacing of a scene is largely determined by what character is in control of the scene. Now, when Cary Grant as Mortimer is in a scene, he's usually the character in control of it, which means the scenes that he's in are high-paced, fast-paced, high-energy, rapid-fire, because that's what he is right now. He is stressed and pinging off the walls with anxious energy. So the scenes that he has control of have that energy. Now, the scenes where, say, his aunts are in control of, it is not as frantic, but it is still like an upbeat, sort of pleasant do-do-do-do kind of energy. So it's not quite as fast-paced, but it is still a higher kind of energy. And then Jonathan comes in, and I understand on paper, like, the contrast, like, he is menacing, he is slower paced, he is deeper voice, he's going to take his time. And I get that, But what that means in practice is that the scenes where his character is in control, which is most of the scenes he's in, his character tends to hold control of the scene and the pacing of the scene. They are comparatively at a crawl to move forward. And that was where it started to lose me. Because, like, honestly, I love rapid fire dialogue. Like, look, realistic dialogue or even like quippy stuff like that we get from a lot of Marvel things these days, like that can be fun and I like that, but like proper rapid fire, boom, 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 boom. I love that stuff. And this was doing it really well for about the first half hour, 45 minutes. Then Jonathan showed up and I'm like, oh no. And it's not, again, it's not that the character is bad or the performance is bad. It's that his presence just the energy comes to a crashing halt. And it starts to feel like a slog during his scenes. And I understand what it's trying to do. It's trying to have him be such a contrast that he's a disruptive force by his presence. And the way that he's disruptive is that he is this slow, menacing thing. Again, on paper, I get it. In practice, I don't enjoy it. So, yeah. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I'm glad I saw this. Again, Cary Grant is, and also, like, there is not nearly as much of him with his fiance character as one would think. They don't share that many scenes together, but their chemistry is terrific. Like, they bounce off each other really, really well. Cary Grant's, anxious energy and his exasperation is wonderful. The old ladies are great. Peter Lorre is fun. But the character of Jonathan, I'm disinclined to blame the actor. I think it's a conceptual issue that, again, is hampered by it being on film. I think even that aspect would play better on stage, where I think dragging things out for comedic effect works better on stage than it does in film, partly because of what I mentioned before. On stage, you can't cut away. So dragging it out becomes the entire point. On film, you can. So dragging it out becomes something that you didn't have to do that, man. You didn't have to make us wait through that. And so you have to be really careful about the times that you do that. And this doesn't feel like it is. Like, about the only time in the whole movie where it felt like it was taking advantage of what it could do as a film that wouldn't necessarily be the case on stage is during the big action climax where a couple of cops get into a fight with Jonathan. And the scene is mostly the camera on Mortimer sitting on the stairs just being like, I was just trying to have a nice day. I thought I had it sorted. Where did I go wrong? What did I need to do? And you're hearing all the scuffle, or you're seeing a chair like break against the wall behind him. Like, that's funny, because using the camera to narrow our visual point of view so much that we are not even seeing the fight, and instead just watching this poor guy just be like, well, what even was this day? Like, that was good, but that's the kind of thing that's the kind of very filmic choice that this needed to make more of. So I hope that made sense. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble. I know this is like a classic by most measures, but I don't know if it's like beloved in a way that I'm gonna get a lot of people mad at me for not adoring it and having a lot of critiques. Like, I'm still glad I saw it and it's still fun. It's just, again, part of the problem is I know it's a play. I'm way more nitpicky about plays than other stuff. And I think it's because I've been involved in too many of the component parts of that. Like, I've acted in plays, I've been an audience member in plays, I've directed plays, I've written plays. I think I know too much about them that I can't not have thoughts about how to tweak it, what would be better. Whereas film, like, I've technically been in films, but like barely counts. So like, my acting experience doesn't translate to what it is I'm seeing. I've never directed a film. I've never written anything that's been filmed. So like, I can approach that largely as an audience member. I think when it comes to theater, I know too much of the inner workings that I can't just set that knowledge aside, and it makes me more critical and more nitpicky about it when I either see a film or whenever I see a play or I see a film that is so obviously just the play. I think that's the thing. And it's not like I don't like any movies that are just plays adapted to film. 12 Angry Men's great. Death Trap's great. It can work, but, you know, I get nitpicky. Anyways, what are your thoughts? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. They all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here. You can come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Ruben Lupula, Daphne Matthews, Kay Johnston, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casper, Dave Hall, Snark Shark, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Stephen Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Magdalena, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Twilord, Tracy Scrabbit, Claire Wright, Pal Baraba Joggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. Additionally, I'd like to thank from the lower tiers of support, John Dent, Erez87, and Quark 12,000. But you guys might like to see Archie this month. Everybody loves you. How could you not?